4 years ago, I made a video about building my own wireless HDMI directors and client monitor. Well, today, we're gonna take that rig and update it to Mark II. And maybe get sued by Disney. You'll see. So obviously updating this system is going to take a little bit more than just hitting it with a hammer and dunking it in a bucket. Please don't actually do either of those things. So let's take a look at what I actually did to bring this system up to date. Back 4 years ago when I built my original wireless monitor system, I used this transmission system right here. It's called the Nyrius Aries Pro. Now, it worked pretty good for most purposes. It did have some limited signal range and distance. It would have some dropouts. It had to awkwardly be powered by USB, and the transmitter portion was kind of awkward to mount onto your camera. So the Nyrius Aries Pro is still available out there. I believe it's actually even been updated from the model that I used. I'll have a link down in the description below so you can go and pick that up if that's the route you want to go. If you want to save yourself some money, this is definitely a good route to go. And then you can watch my original video for how to assemble it with this system. And you get to see how far this channel has come since 2015. So recently I did a review of a new wireless HDMI system called the Hollyland Mars 300. I was really impressed with its overall performance. It's definitely a more professional level wireless system, and even though it did have some latency issues that could cause problems if you're trying to wirelessly pull focus with it, I still thought that, you know what, this is a step up from my Nyrius, and I'm going to rebuild my wireless monitor system using the Hollyland Mars 300. So I also came up with a few other ideas to upgrade this system while I was at it. First, obviously, we're going to be upgrading the wireless HDMI system itself. Second, I wanted to make it easy for me to use various monitors in it, depending on which monitor I have available at the time, because sometimes I get new ones, I swap them out, or ones are being used on other parts of the set. And then finally, I wanted to switch it over to V-mount batteries and D-tap for powering everything, as opposed to the USB battery packs that I was using in the previous version. So let's take a look at all of the components that I used to upgrade this system. I will have a full list of everything I used and links to those items in the description below if you want to check them out. Some of the cables I did have to order connectors and actually make my own cables, but all it took was some basic soldering and I was able to create the cables that I wanted for this system. Now do keep in mind that this particular setup is not necessarily what everyone would consider to be budget. The Mars 300 is $500, and depending on what type of monitor you put in here, is drastically going to change the price of your overall setup. But when you compare the cost of building a setup like this versus buying some of the pre-made ones out there, you can actually end up saving yourself quite a lot of money. So on that note, let's go ahead and see how to put it together. Since I want this to be a director's or client's monitor, I want it to be easily handheld and carried around the set. So that's where this frame comes in. So this frame allows me to easily mount my monitor inside here, keeps everything protected, and also offers me plenty of mounting points to mount accessories. And on the back here, I have added a cheese plate so that I can mount even more accessories and parts to this system directly to the back. Now to mount an actual monitor into this frame, there is a threaded 1/4-20 at the bottom, but I wanted something a little bit quicker and easier, so I'm using this quick release monitor mounting system from Lampart. I have reviewed these before. I absolutely love them. I have them on all of my monitors, so it allows me to quickly and easily take a monitor and just quickly snap and lock it into place. Next, to mount the actual Mars 300 receiver onto here, I'm using one of the mounting points up at the top of this cage or frame, and I'm just using a 1/4-20 male-to-male adapter and a little rubber washer to keep it from spinning, so I can just thread it right onto here and get it nice and secure mounted up top. So these are our core components, but now we need to run power and we need to connect them via HDMI. So to handle power, I installed this small rig V-mount battery plate on the back here that will allow me to slide a V-mount battery on here to power everything in this rig. Now this plate is just a dummy plate, meaning it doesn't actually pass any electronics through it. It literally just allows us to mount and click lock our V-mount battery onto the back of the system. So we're gonna have to actually pull power from this battery by connecting into the DTAP port. So this particular battery only has one DTAP port, and I have two devices here that I need to power. So to solve that problem, I picked up one of these. This is a 4-way splitter for DTAP. Now this is going to allow me to power everything we have on here now, and even potentially add other DTAP powerable accessories to this in the future. The way I went about mounting this is I added a little strip of Velcro here to this rear cheese plate, and this guy can just Velcro right onto there. Now I could have used something a little bit more permanent like glue or a stronger adhesive, but I really want the flexibility to be able to modify this and change it if I decide to change things up again in the future. So Velcro is your best friend. So the Mars 300 does have a DC input, but it didn't come with a DTAP cable for it, so I had to make my own. It came with an AC power brick that had a locking barrel connector, and I like that connector. So all I did was clip that connector and a length of wire off and soldered on one of these DTAP connectors that I picked up online. When I was soldering this on there and making my own cable, I made sure to double check that I had the polarity of the positive and negative correct. Always check your positive and negatives. If you're not sure how to check positive and negative, it's actually pretty simple. Most of these DTAP connectors actually have positive and negative marked directly on the outside, but some other connectors like barrel connectors don't have these markings there. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the original AC power brick, and you should see a little diagram on there that'll show you which of the inner and outer sleeves are positive and negative. So next we're going to need to run power to our monitor, and this is going to depend and vary depending on what monitor you want to use for this system, what type of connector it takes, and all of that. So you can either purchase pre-existing adapter cables or you can make your own like I did. One thing you're definitely going to want to make sure of, however, is make sure that your monitor can handle the voltage input of a DTAP battery. If the DTAP puts out more voltage than your particular device or monitor can handle, you're going to want to try and find a regulator cable which will drop that voltage to whatever voltage you need for your monitor. Do not fry your monitor because you didn't check voltages. So now that everything is connected and has power, as we can see here, the next step is to connect the HDMI from the receiver to the monitor. Now again, this is something that's going to vary depending on which monitor you're using. Monitors have HDMI inputs in different locations and different orientations, but basically with a flexible HDMI cable and a few angled adapters, you should be able to get your monitor all connected up. I personally like using this HDMI ribbon cable. It's super thin, super flexible, and is great for tucking in and staying out of the way on this rig. Now all that's left to do is throw the Mars 300 transmitter on your camera, power everything up, and boom, you have a wireless handheld director's monitor. Now one thing I also like to keep in my wireless monitor kit is one of these little Rapid Baby adapters. So I can mount this into the bottom of this frame, and I can actually mount this onto a light stand or a C-stand on set if we don't need it to be mobile and someone doesn't have to be carrying it around. So there we go, guys. That is my wireless HDMI director's monitor Mark II, all updated for 2019 technology here. And yeah, I have links to everything, as I said, down below for you guys if you want to recreate this build or even put your own little spin on it and do it a little bit differently. And if you have any questions or running into any problems trying to set one up like this for yourself, please ask those below, and I will totally be in there to answer any questions that you might have. And as always, make sure you remember to like this video, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and click that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I have new awesome videos releasing on the channel. Like for instance, the behind the scenes of how we shot that Iron Man intro for this video. Definitely go and check that one out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.